So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to have a successful career without going to college or university. It's not for everybody, and I think that you could be extremely successful in anything that you choose to do, and you just have to sort of think about what you want to do. So hopefully this is going to resonate with somebody, maybe you're in high school at this moment, or maybe you are in your 30s at this moment, or even 40s or 50s, and you're thinking about, how I should have went to I should have went to college, I should have went to university, and we all have these sort of moments in time where we're thinking about those things. But what you need to know that you can be very, very successful without doing that. It helps out, but it doesn't determine your success. So if you don't know me, I'm actually Professor Dave Maslock. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor for to help you out. So yeah, going to college and university is actually a really great way, especially if you choose the right thing that you're doing and you don't go too much in debt. You can actually fast track a lot of your career. So it can also hurt your career depending on if you go into the wrong domain, or a domain that is not going to be maybe it's profitable or something like that. But I think that the important thing for you to think about in terms of how do you actually advance your career without going to university or college is really thinking about taking 10 to 20% of everything that you earn and your time and your resources, and continuing to reinvest it into developing your capabilities. I know it seems like kind of a unusual thing, but if you do choose to do that route, what you need to do is recognize that you're still going to be learning in different ways. And if you do that, you can actually advance in your career quite quickly and quite readily. And you might end up having to go to university or college at some point to sort of go to the next level, but I don't think that you need to. So for example, let me give you a suggestion in terms of how to do this, right? So maybe you're in lawn mowing, for example, you mow lawns, and you're trying to think about how to actually advance your career without going to college. And what you have to do is say at the end of your 2 week period that you get paid or whatever it is, that you get $100. So then you take you take $10 of those $100, and then you put that aside. And then you save for a year until eventually you've got $500. And then what you need to do is take that $500 and invest it in, maybe it's new equipment. So this year you invest in new equipment. So you take that and you get new equipment. And then maybe you get some sort of, faster lawn mowing, device, or whatever it is, right? So eventually after a couple of years, you can mow a lot more yards, and then you can take the money that you've accumulated in that 10% pile, and then you take that and you hire an additional person. Or what you can also do is actually take a course that is relevant, but not scammy. So the important thing is, don't fall prey for sort of scammy things that you see on the internet. I'm going to really stress that at this moment. There's a lot of really scammy things out there. So look for legitimate courses that you can take through, maybe it is through a really reputable university or college that you could take a course, right? Some sort of advancement kind of program, or maybe it's an advancement program at a community college or something like that. And that's what you want to look at, right? So maybe it's getting basic accounting skills, for example. That's going to be very, very helpful for you in terms of advancing in your career. So you can learn a little bit more. Or maybe it is some sort of basic marketing or something along those lines. So that's what you want to do. So maybe you choose a different career, right? So maybe you go and work at McDonald's. Well, how do you actually advance and do well in a career in McDonald's? And you can actually do extremely well in fast food and by not going to college and university. And what you have to do is really care and really invest in the career and be that person that you are being outstanding every single time that you actually do something, right? So you're happy to go to work. You're really excited to go to work, and you say, hey, hey boss, give me some extra stuff that you think that I should do. and you just do a really good job, and you're meticulous, and you really invest on yourself and invest in your skills. And so eventually you're going to be recognized, I hope. And if you're not recognized, what you need to do is after a year or two that you do need to switch jobs. If you're not being recognized, you're not being promoted after a year or two. And then what you need to do is invest in the career some more until maybe you become, you move your way up until you're a manager at the store, and then you save 10%, 15% of your money until you can actually buy a franchise. And it might not be that specific franchise. McDonald's is expensive, but maybe you go buy a Subway's franchise and you apply some of the things that you learn from McDonald's to Subway. And then you build up from there, you build, more franchises. And all of this, I know this seems really, really quick. This seems like it's going to take a short amount of time, but it doesn't. It's going to take you several decades to do any of these paths by the time you're actually moderately successful. And what you're doing is you're divvying up your money, right? So you take 10% or 15% of your money to reinvest in R&D, research and development. So that's what I'm getting you to do to develop your skill set, right? So you're taking 10 to 15% always to invest in something that's long term. And then you take another 10 to 15% to invest in kind of marketing, right? So you spend your time marketing yourself, marketing at night you spend an hour, doing stuff on social media or something and promoting the industry that you're in. And you're constantly doing this, and you do this over several decades. It compounds and actually grows, and it does quite well. And you can advance far quicker eventually after a decade or two. You can advance far quicker than somebody that hasn't done that and just did a university job, right? So your typical kind of white collar job where they've just kind of invested for 4 years and then they forgot to do that, and they forgot to sort of invest in themselves and invest in the career, invest in everything about what they're doing. So this is how you actually grow and develop. So why is it that people that go to university and college actually seem to be getting ahead sometimes? Well, the trick is that it's really hard to separate that sort of signal that they're sending to the market with somebody that is going to get up and get going and have that sort of gumption, right? Just kind of goes hand in hand. It's not like it's a perfect correlation, but it means that there's more people that go to university and college that have kind of that gumption that's going to do that than people that don't. And it's kind of like just this little hurdle to go through and do that, right? If you have a little bit of gumption, you're probably going to go to university and college, and then that little bit of gumption can compound time and time again. So if I can change your mind, I don't think that going to college and university is like the end all and be all, even though this channel is heavily stresses that. But you have to constantly be investing in yourself and investing in what you're doing, and really believe in real things, right? Like science actually does matter is what I'm trying to get at, right? Like understanding the world, it really does matter, and that's what you do to invest and keep going and develop and become somebody that is better than who you are right now. And it's not rocket science. It's not. We have this sort of image that billionaires and millionaires and stuff are walking around, pistol shooting all the time, and they're like, hey, that kind of thing. That's not what it is. You can be a totally normal human being and do this and do well by the time that you're 40, 50 years old, and you do extremely well. If you're doing this and you're constantly investing a little bit, So what you kind of do is parcel out 10% going into R&D, right? So that is developing your skills, 10% going into marketing at night, 10% actually going into long-term savings. So that is investing for your future. That is 10% going into just basic index funds, so that when you retire, you can actually do well and you can live off of something. And if you did that, sort of those ratios, 10, 15% of any of those, even 20% of any of those things, and you constantly do that, and you live off of, say, 50% of your income, somewhere around there of what you're actually making, and you do that repeatedly time and time again, it does compound, and you actually do really well in your life. It just takes a long time, just like everything in life. And you sort of have to imagine that it's going to take a long time to actually get there. But that's how you do it. And you don't need to go to college or university. You just have to do things pretty soundly. And then when you're in doubt, on something and you don't know what quite to do, go find somebody that's reputable to give you some advice, get some counsel on stuff in your life that could be helpful. Somebody that's a lawyer, somebody that's a physician, somebody that is, whatever it is, and like those people, accountant, they actually have some knowledge, and you can trust them, and those folks actually can help you out if you find somebody that's really reputable and that can give you an extra bonus, and you can actually ask them for advice. But you just have to really, they're like people, just like everything else. There's a lot of real scammy people out there, and there's lots of people that you probably don't want to trust, and so it's hard to find those people, and you just have to identify those people as you grow and develop, and you get that sort of sense of who's legitimate, decent, nice people in this world. Those people are not going to be loud. Generally, they're not. Generally, they're, a general rule that I've figured out is soft-spoken people they can be very nice and they can be very helpful. I'm just going to tell you that. So with that, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I do appreciate it. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.